Hey there, creepy peeps. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you're returning. Today, we are going to be talking about Random Acts of Violence, which comes out on Shudder tomorrow, if you happen to be watching this when this video goes live on Wednesday. Before I get into anything though, I want to say thank you to my creepy patron peeps for supporting my channel. Thank you guys so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep yourself, you can follow that link in the description. Directed by Jay Baruchel, Random Acts of Violence follows comic book creator Todd and his wife Kathy, assistant Aurora, and best friend Ezra, who embark upon a road trip from Toronto to New York City Comic Con, and bad things start to happen. People start getting killed. It soon becomes clear that a crazed fan is using Todd's Slasher Man comic as inspiration for the killings, and as the bodies pile up and Todd's friends and family become victims themselves, Todd will be forced to take artistic responsibility. I got a screener for this from Shudder. I went in blind as I normally do. I just one sentence summary from the internet, so I have some feelings. First thing I want to point out is the actual look of the movie. I thought it looked great, especially the use of the vivid colored lights, not unlike the lights coming from Red's eyes right now. I just want to point that out. But the lighting, the colored lighting, gives the movie a very comic book graphic novel feel, which is apropos given the movie is centered around a graphic novel creator, and it is also based off of a one-shot graphic novel of the same name. I also really liked the dynamic between the characters Todd and Kathy, especially because with this whole movie being centered around this graphic novel creator and then a killer who is basing their kills off of the graphic novel, you have Todd's girlfriend Kathy, who over the course of this road trip is in the process of writing a nonfiction book about the I-90 killer, which is the killer within the movie that Todd bases his graphic novels off of. Yes. There's a really interesting moment within the movie where they have this super interesting conversation. It almost feels like they were having an argument about about whose artistic work is more exploitative. Is it the graphic novels that makes the slasher its protagonist, or is it this nonfiction work that is remembering and celebrating the lives of the victims who usually don't get talked about as much when it comes to true crime and serial killer type things, which I thought was really interesting given the intense stan culture of true crime and serial killers. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I got a screener for the movie, which came with a press kit, which I didn't read until after I'd finished the movie, of course, because I didn't want it to influence my viewing of the movie in any way. But I want to read a direct quote here because it directly addresses what the point, the purpose of the film is. Random Acts of Violence is an elevated slasher horror that will easily become a cult favorite, scratching the entertainment element of horror whilst searching for the deeper meaning behind the violence. The film explores the idea of legitimizing cruelty and the fact that the monsters are not merely monsters, they are broken people. Stretching from one end of the emotional spectrum to the other, it holds a mirror up to art, society, and violence. I want to mention that in particular because I got to talk about the fact, I'm sorry, that out of the 3 kills, it's not okay, it's not 3 people die, it's more than 3 people, but the 3 kill scenes of the movie, you only see one person actually being killed, and everything else is an aftermath situation. You see their body afterward. I don't know, I guess it just would it not make more sense to make us feel something about the characters, get us to care about the characters, and then show us this incredibly cruel and violent death, and then we have to feel uncomfortable with it, and then kind of within ourselves think about this idea of legitimizing cruelty? No, I don't know. I also couldn't help but feel throughout watching this movie a kind of pretentious air about the film, which I was getting ready to sit down here and tell you it was it's probably just me, I don't know where that came from, but then I read the press kit and I kind of got it confirmed for me, particularly in the director's statement, which is in the press kit, which I'm going to quote apart for you right now. This is a statement from the director, Jay Baruchel, who says, The sad truth is that horror has turned stagnant, a warehouse for outdated ideas and misogyny apologists. A lot of these ills have been here for a while. Some are new trends. Either way, the vast majority of horror flicks feature characters nobody cares about in cynically engineered circumstances that fetishize cruelty. This is incorrect morally, as well as antithetical to the very essence of what a horror film is meant to feel like. Above all, a horror film should be scary. It sounds simple enough, and yet when one watches the majority of contemporary horror flicks, so few of them are actually scary. They may be shocking and inspire momentary car crash awe, but the fact is, if an audience member laughs or shares a sort of holy shit moment with the person next to them, they may be excited, but they are not scared. Random Acts of Violence seeks to cure this. I'm sorry, I just gotta say really quick, I have another quote, but I just gotta like respond to part of that. Just like comedy, horror is subjective. We don't all find the same things scary. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, in all pettiness, I didn't find Random Acts of Violence scary, so there's that. Okay, so farther down, towards the very end of the director's statement, Baruchel says, "Ours is a beautiful, truthful film that is as entertaining as it is disturbing. A violent neo-Gothic love story about artistic responsibility and the cultural ill of legitimizing misogynistic violence, as told through the lens of Generation Y kids that came of age enjoying art made by Generation X." I just feel like that's a pretty bold statement from somebody who does not once mention the slew of horror movies that actually address these very issues. Someone who claims to be a horror fan, and I'm not disputing that. I don't know this person personally, so I'm not saying you're not a horror fan. Like, he's giving me a vibe that like he's here to like save the genre that, like I said, has already addressed and unpacked these issues. Not saying that you can't still make a movie about this, but it's just like, I don't know. Please, somebody like let me know in the comments. Am I reading too much into it? I just feel like he thinks his is the only movie to ever do this. And I especially want to point out the examples that I showed, which are not all of them, by the way, but Cabin in the Woods and Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon specifically even go as far to directly address the culpability of the people creating the violence in the first place, as well as the audience that is consuming it. Like, I don't know though, were those not elevated enough for you? I just feel like Random Acts of Violence doesn't make a definitive statement about this misogynistic violence, the art that people make to like work through their trauma of violence, and the people that consume it. And it leaves the audience like watching the movie itself to draw their own conclusions, which there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But if you're gonna make these like bold statements in your press kit, I feel like just go ahead and put it in the movie. Like, make your statement, say what you want to say about it. I also just want to point out here, because they keep mentioning misogynistic violence. That's a part of it. That's a big part of the statement. Every single female character dies in this movie, but the only difference is you just don't see them die. You see the aftermath of them. So is it like, are we making the statement that it's no longer misogynistic if we just don't see them die? Like, is misogyny dead? I will admit, this entire rant was based off of the director statement in this press kit. So before I read that, you know, in that space between me watching the movie and then me reading the press kit, I thought the movie was okay. I just personally feel like the movie didn't address anything new that previous horror movies haven't already addressed when it comes to like life imitating art and art imitating life, and what does that say about us that we consume this violent art and blah 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 blah. I would give this a 2.5 out of 5. It was okay. It looked cool. It didn't do much for me as a horror movie. On IMDb, it has a 4.9 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, it just has a critic score right now, which is 77%. Doesn't have an audience consensus yet. And on Letterboxd, it has a 2.7 out of 5. Like I said, Random Acts of Violence comes out tomorrow if you happen to be watching this on the day the video goes live. So it comes out Thursday, the 20th on Shudder. So if you've already seen it, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it. Or if you haven't yet and you plan on it, I would very much appreciate it if you came back and told me what you thought about it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here, or if you've been lurking, become a creepy peep today. I post 2 new videos every single week. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you guys very, very soon. And until then, stay strange. Bye.